Okay, brilliant. So thank you, Sharon. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or shall I come over to Nick and ask Nick the same question?
No, I think so, like, that's the positives. Obviously, the only bit that sometimes we felt difficult, and I know me and Nick would often be Thursday afternoon. Oh, we need to look at the rota for next week for the OTs. And in the end, we sort of came to a decision. Actually, the OTs had other things on that we maybe didn't know about till quite late in the day when we'd already sort of planned their rota. We did put a joint calendar together, but I don't think that ever got used, or it didn't. There wasn't any benefit. I don't know why, but
I think they started giving us suggestions as well, didn't they? Week like
and then it was
8
quite
and 9.
good.
It was better. That was better that they almost said to us what days they were gonna, they had university something on this day, or they were so and so on that day. I think if we did it again, we would know a bit more about how, because I think that at the beginning was quite tricky, wasn't it? To to plan those things and know and what was the right thing and what was the best thing and what would work out, trying to get them lots of opportunities in lots of different places. It meant that we had to sort of like ring gate that, for want of a better way of, so we knew when they were in our services, and then it was supervision on Thursday afternoons, and then we managed to get Jess on board, so they go with Jess on Tuesdays, but that didn't start till week 3 or 4. So it was just quite a lot of organising, wasn't it, at the beginning? We used to do Thursday afternoons.
It seemed like we were always dipping back into it. And you want to get a plan, and then it can be, I said to them a few times, she like Arisa would come to me and say, can I'd like to do the community, a couple of, that's fine, okay, we'll put that in the rota for next week. So that was better, because they were then saying what they wanted from it, which is the whole point.
And maybe we could, when we did it again, we could plan the first couple of weeks, and then after week 3 we could say to them, actually, then they could maybe start to give us some ideas, and they could start to plan, what they needed. Did they need to spend more time in the community or at Greenfields, or because they kind of worked that out for themselves, didn't they, after they'd kind of, so maybe that could be a, when we moved into the next one, we would support with the first few, and then they could come up with the last few weeks themselves.
Okay.
Don't know, that's just a
no, I think that's a fantastic solution.
to it, so it doesn't take as much of our time.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm remote, so I'm not even there, which is quite hard, because I'm managing it through my deputies who are there as duty managers. So I'm sort of relaying to them the students will be in this day and this day. So I was forwarding the plan to them, and of course that then meant I then had to change that plan and resend it out again, and it was that.
So can I just unpick then? So you were planning the rota, and then the rota had to be changed because the students had identified different learning opportunities, and had they just done that themselves, or did they do that with others?
I think we as a team, and Della and Sue as well, everybody tried to sort of give them as many opportunities as possible. So I think they were kind of like interlude with, they did their walk-in for wellbeing one afternoon, and then they had an opportunity, and then we found them some first aid training, and then some moving and handling training, and then they had a university thing that popped up, and then it was their week something review, and then it was something, there was lots of things that kind of popped up that that were great opportunities for them, that an OT day or a training, lots of things
something in
up.
London or something, wasn't it? I can't think, Birmingham or somewhere. I don't know.
So those things and I think all the things that popped up were quite beneficial to them. I think they were
but they didn't have much notice, and it meant things had to be changed.
Okay.
And if we did it, when we did it again, or if and when or whatever, maybe people will be more brief. So Jess will be in at the beginning to be able to maybe provide some more set days from the beginning, and maybe if Sue did it, whoever did it again would know that they would have their walking with wellbeing or whatever that was called on a Wednesday. So maybe we would be able to be a bit more planned next time, knowing that some of these opportunities might come up.
And I think that's a really good idea, and that's what I've noted actually. So it's the kind of coordination of that student placement plan right at the beginning, even before they arrive with you, between yourselves, between the supervisor, between CPEP or whoever's involved, and then but but you're right to also allow some flexibility.
Yeah, it needs to be fluid as well, because like some of them did, like they did, we had specific clients in that they had great ideas within that. So they did a Saturday and a Sunday so they could do, and then they had time off in the week. So it's kind of like we need that flexibility as well, because actually if they've got something good that we could do and they had 4 or 5 days, they then did, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then had time off the week after, because that's what worked best for their learning. So you know, it's hard, isn't it? And you know, maybe we might not be this busy forever.
Yeah,
I know there's some optimism there, isn't there? Yeah.
But I do think you're right. I think coordinating between all parties, really, having that coordination in terms of the student placement plan right at the beginning with inbuilt flexibility is going to benefit everybody, isn't it? I think that's a really good idea. So Nick, coming to you then, thinking about what's gone well with the placement, particularly building on what Sharon's already said, is there anything else from you that's gone particularly well?
I think, you know, they gave us some good ideas as well. I think what was really positive for both sides was that I don't think they thought they would learn as much as they'd learn in the environment. So I think I think that was a positive for us, you know, to be able to recognize that actually, you know, our teams have got some really good skills as well. And actually, so it could uplift social care for the OTs, but it could also uplift the staff to recognise they do have some good skills. And actually, they were asking them lots of questions, and they were, you know, it made them feel that they really did have some good points to put across, which I think was really positive. I think they left us with some, you know, some quite good things. We had a young lady in when they were here who was incredibly complex with her behaviours. And I think they gave us some good ideas, and she took some of them on, like a wristband, turn it the right way around depending on how she's feeling, to be able to engage. You know, so I think there was some good, learning. Sometimes it's tricky to think outside the box when, you know, you're in a situation. So I think that there was some real positives for them, and I think it gave them as well, not just for me and Sharon, but it gave them a real good positive outlook on social care. So I think, you know, there were some, you know, and they were really quite flexible. We had an evening where we had a young lady who was admitted to hospital, and Emma was asked if she could do the late anyway, and she was happy to sort of, like, you know, we had to change. And I think some of the transferable skills that they learn were real positive, that actually sometimes you've got this really super duper plan that's played out, and then someone has a seizure just when you're about to start. So that doesn't mean you can't do that plan, but it means that you have to maybe think differently to how you were going to do it. And the responses, I think, you know, they learned a lot about some people's responses would be different in the morning, and then some would be different in the afternoon. So actually they might need to plan to do those activities in the afternoon, but their paddles and their daddles they might do in the morning, or they might do them in the evening. So I think it was just about that flexibility. I think it was great for them to be able to have that. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Fabulous.
And I think echo it in the things that Sharon said, really, about, you know, it's great to have someone with fresh eyes come in to see if there is anything. You know, it's always good to have new eyes environments, isn't it? And especially their skill set is, and their sort of education that they're learning and their degree they're learning is different. So, you know, they are going to have some things that they can bring as well, aren't they? So yeah.
Fantastic. That's really positive. Is there anything else that didn't go quite so well?
No, I would say the first 2 weeks were tricky, but I don't think they were tricky for any particular reason. It was an incredibly tricky time here. They worked 3 solid days with just me, because I was the only one here, because they were so I think the first 2 weeks were tricky for them, because I think they weren't quite sure. It was new, wasn't it? And I think it was tricky for our environments because we were in a bit of a COVID surge at that point. But you know, I think once we got past those 2 weeks and they could see the positives of what they could achieve and what opportunities they would have, I think that settled. And I think I would know more, like me and Sharon, we would know more about what would be coming this time. We would know more about some of their expectations.
That reflective time, wasn't
yes,
it, that they
absolutely,
had during the day. We hadn't factored that in, and then obviously that made it a bit, you know, obviously they needed to say then, actually, you know, we need time to go away and think about this and make a plan and all of that, and that hadn't been factored in.
So I think we've learned that now. So when we do it again, we would know that actually their planning, that planning and time and the reflection time afterwards, or the time to do some research and all those kind of bits actually is quite significant. They're not just running, knee deep into it. They need some reflection pre and post really to doing things and to be able to find those things. So I think that was different, but I think most of the things I would say were negative, I think we'd solved. If someone asked me on week 1, I'd have gone, oh crikey, this is quite tricky. But by week 3, I think we'd kind of like all aligned ourselves, and we kind of knew what we were doing. We all knew where we were going, and then we kind of cracked on. But is that the same thing when you do anything new? I suppose it is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you've both mentioned, you were in a COVID surge, and really tricky service demands on demands on your service and your time and your team. So I think I think
can only get better.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it hurt them I don't think it hurt them in the end of it to actually see those things. And I don't think it, I think it really gave them a bit of an eye-opener to some of the situations that we do deal with, but actually that they are okay. They're a bit tricky for a couple of days, and then we just kind of laugh about it and move past it. And then, after we've all had a decent sleep, it's all fine again, and we go again. I think, that I don't think that was necessarily negative in the end. I think it felt a bit negative at the time, because everything feels negative when you're in that place. But actually, I think they could learn from it. They could really use those transferable skills more so in those situations. So I think that became learning. So I don't know the time thing, but that's it's everywhere, isn't it? That's just life. Everybody could do with a bit more time. So
Brilliant, thank you. So thinking about the process of becoming an approved placement provider, so the work that Della did with you initially, the work that Stacey did with you, and the university setting you up, supporting you to set up and go through the audit and all of that. So if you think about that process, becoming an approved placement provider, how did you find that? Sharon,
if I do all of it, did we?
No, I was just going to say, because we were in that COVID
we
place,
never fitted it in. We never fitted it in.
So Stacey really tried hard, and it's no fault of her own, but we didn't fit that in. So I would be keen to do that again. So I think we did quite well, considering we hadn't had that, because Stacey tried hard to do it.
I think we're looking at doing it in a couple of weeks' time, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we tried about 5, 6, 7 different times, and every time we had to stop it.
No.
Are you referring to the training?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was of no fault. Yeah. So we just rode through it. But I think we would, we would be in hopefully a less COVID place next time, and we could revisit that, because there would be some, I think there's some really good things on that. I think some of us potentially have some of those skills, and we've done some of those things, but some of our wider teams, and that's who Stacey had offered it to, would benefit from that. But doing the is that a PEP or a SEP that was all, we met and did those bits, didn't we? And now we've done that once, it won't be as sort of
the actual induction bit.
Because we've got nursing associates coming in next week. Is it the week after?
So next week, is it?
Next, not 24th. So it's the week after. So we've had to redo that not the OT induction, because it's not an OT this time. The nursing associate induction for those guys. So I think once we've done it, there won't be a massive change in between. So I think with anything, the setup always takes longer. The next time you do it, it's never quite.
It was time to do that, wasn't it? That was the bit I kept moving it in my calendar. I'll do that. I will get that done. I'll get that done before then.
Yes, absolutely.
And then, but it was always didn't take priority, because there's always something else that I needed priority. So.
So I think those things would be done, wouldn't they, next time? The agreements with the university and all those things that took a bit of time at the beginning.
It'd be really good for us to learn from you, so that we know that additional support that new providers going through this process that you've been through could benefit from your wisdom. Is there anything that we can do, Della can do, or somebody who was in Della's position more to support you to kind of be ready for students, considering your role within the service and your time constraints on your time, etc. Is there and be candid about this? You know, we're not precious. This is about us learning and being able to offer, you know, different types of support or more support, what, you know, whatever.
I think the tricky thing is you need that information from us, so you guys can't do the legwork on that, because lots of that stuff needs to be about our service and our, you know, so it needs to be about what we can, you know, offer back, doesn't it? You know, it needs to be Della or Stacey, whoever it is, wouldn't know the information that needed to go on there, because that is about our services, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think the best way.
Think of anything.
No, I can't. The best way was definitely on a Teams meeting where we could just all talk about it and get it. And then I think maybe you or Stacey, I can't remember which one, Della, then sort of like added the bits to it, and then it got sent off. I would say anything less that we could physically do, we could be part of it, but the less of the writing and the less of the, you know, we could almost answer all those questions. But I think the bits that we had to do, we almost had to do, because we would have only known the answers to
we
it.
had a template, because there was a template which guided you to what
which was really helpful.
So, yeah, I think that's as much as you can do, really, because the rest of it comes from us, doesn't it?
And I think we need to fill those bits in because they're about us. I don't think, you know, I think we spoke to Stacey and Della quite a lot, didn't we? And I think that was helpful. We, you know, any questions that we needed to ask, we could just ask, quick email and things. I think it's important to have those points of contact for, oh, I'm not sure about this, or, oh, I don't know about that, or do we need to be, you know, and those really honest conversations right at the beginning. Actually, you know, they don't want to be included in the number. They need to have some reflection to, you know, those, and some of that came from Sue as well. You know, actually some of those conversations early on needed to be honest and needed to be for them to maximise, for everybody to maximise.
Yeah, I think their supervisors to be able to feed back any concerns if they don't feel they can is always good. Obviously, the earlier on, because it's relatively small placement, really, isn't it? Short.
And you want them to get the best out of it, don't you?
You need to be able to deal with it sooner rather than later, so you can resolve it and move on. So. Yeah, but I think that happened in the main.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they came to us. I had, you know, quite a few conversations with both of them about different things, and most things you could resolve there and then, or some of their sort of concerns were questions around the complexities of some of the people we support and just understanding those processes. Actually, you know, some people might never have anything orally, but actually we wouldn't then revisit that every year. Or, you know, but some people we may need to revisit that if they were having, you know, some of those things that actually I think made them feel uncomfortable. It was more about them not understanding the processes that we would have to go down. But actually we just said to them, well, you just need to tell us that, and we can tell you the, you know, the reasons why this happens, or the processes we would follow, or the you know, different things. But I think they were quite good, really, in all fairness, in them, weren't they, having those conversations?
I mean, I quite often got emails from them because obviously say I'm working from home, so you know, one or other of them would send me an email and say, what would you think? Do you think I could? And I said, yeah, that's fine. So then I, you know, copy a deputy in and saying, can you please, you know, do this for them, and
I suppose I had more of that face to face because I was doing a lot of those shifts at that point because of staff, so I got a lot more, you know, time with them face to face and sort of like working through processes and actually physical things, moving and handling. It was Emma did a piece of work around one of our slings, so you know, we did a lot of taking pictures and putting the person in it and getting the right position, and her understanding how we would know when that person was in the right position. But we could do that, I could do that myself because I was doing those hands-on shifts. So they so I don't think it answers that question in lots of words we've used there. No.
Okay. And the next question is, thinking about your relationship with Sue as the long arm supervisor, how did that develop? Shall I start with you, Sharon?
I sort of connected her with Helen, my deputy, for her to give feedback, because Helen was normally on duty with the at the same time as the students. So it was helpful for her to be able to give Sue direct observation feedback and discuss any issues. So they sort of made a connection. So for me, really, it was only when Sue would ask anything specific, like I think we had initially about them being additional to normal staff in numbers, and then also having that time at the beginning of the day to prepare, or at some middle of the day to take some time to go away. So she would just come to me for that, which we did.
Thank you. And what about you, Nick? How did that relationship develop?
I think we saw a bit more at the beginning because she came in here to do the initial, I think it was an afternoon actually. She came in here to do, I'm pointing upstairs because they used our room upstairs for the computers and that. So she came in on that initial afternoon. So I suppose I had a bit more human, if you call it, like face-to-face contact with her, because I saw a bit more of her. But yeah, and she would email in. I found her really easy to work with, in all fairness. She would email in, she would say, you know, I've got these questions, or the OTs would say, you know, oh, we're going to bring that up at our supervision. And I was like, oh, great, that'll be interesting to know what, you know, because it is quite different. And then they would come back and say, oh, Sue had suggested this, or Sue had said that, or Sue said, could I ask for more info here? And we'd give them more info and things. Yeah, I think she was very easy is probably the wrong word, but she was very easy to communicate with, very approachable, very easy to communicate with. And you know, I think again, if you probably asked her, I think she'd say the first 2 weeks she found a bit tricky, because it was like finding at feet, and finding the role of a long arm is different to a, you know, person next to them, isn't it? A person that's working with them and things. But you know, I think in the end it's quite a positive thing, because they have to grow. You know, so actually it's like a baptism of fire, isn't it? So, you know, they're without somebody with them that potentially is going to answer all those questions, they have to use all that initiative so much more, and they have to learn those transferable skills a bit more. So yeah, I haven't got any. I think she was great. I'd happily work with her again. So
what are the 3 things that you might do differently in terms of facilitating TNA placements?
I think maybe it would have been nice to introduce them to the team prior to them coming. Maybe have that time before, because they started and they're in, and they're, you know, so I think maybe, you know, I think at that time we had quite a few changes of staff, and we had staff shadowing and staff, you know, new staff coming in for my team. So there was people dipping in and out and that as well. Whereas I'm hoping to get to the stage where we have the same people working the same day, so they know the clients and they know all their needs. So if we were going to get a student to have an opportunity to introduce them to that team, so they know they're coming, and then they can think about anything they might want support with, having, if you know, if it was something we were having on a regular basis, oh actually last time we did this, so it might be good for them to research that, you know, so sort of have some things for them to be able to look up or research prior to coming, or you know, come with a plan maybe.
One of the things that you said earlier was about everybody that's going to be involved in the process kind of coordinating that student placement plan, so identifying the different learning opportunities and the days that might occur, and going from Greenfields to Silver Hill and all of that. So I wonder if that could be part of that conversation, that introduction to the team, but also to think about learning opportunities in the placement plan. Are you suggesting that would it be beneficial for that to happen before they start placement?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I would echo that as well, because I think they didn't really see in the first week what potentially learning opportunities they would have. So I think if we could maybe say, so if we could maybe say, you know, these are some of the potential learning opportunities you'd have in these environments, not to fine to that, but it kind of gives them a bit of an inkling, doesn't it? Some of the people, you know, not so much for Chum, but some of the people here have quite significant complexities. And actually that's, you know, being able to find learning opportunities for them. They're like, oh, I didn't thought about that. You know, actually some of those things, just because somebody is very complex in their presentation doesn't mean that the opportunities aren't there, but they're absolutely not as obvious as somebody that isn't so complex.
A little bit more research.
Yes, absolutely. And some of the things that, you know, just that would probably be, I would probably agree with Sharon in that, in a different, you know, to give them some examples maybe.
Okay, fantastic. And so anything else, or what is there anything else that we could learn from your experiences?
do you know, because I think we learned them as we went along. They got really to grips with our software. We use a thing called person centered software, and they, you know, we did spend some time at the beginning going through that with them, but they really got to grips with that. And so they would then read our support plans before they looked at a piece of, you know, like a piece of work that they were going to do with someone. So they'd read through them, they'd look at how they'd been the night before or how they'd been the last few days, so they could assess whether mornings might be better, evenings might be better. But I would say that's a significant part of it. But we kind of, we knew that anyway, so we kind of spent that time with them. But I think that person centered software really gives them, and it gives them an inkling as to what other professionals would put on there. You know, what other, you know, that actually anyone can, you know, we would expect, we would request, we wouldn't always get it, that the GP would give us a summary to put on there. They would never write it themselves. But, you know, so all those kind of things that would go on, it gave them a real opportunity to, and it's a really good piece of kit.
And we both really use it in our building. So
so we use it within Sharon's older people services and within our regulated services. But it gave them, because you can track their changes, or you can put, so if you were doing let me think of an example, 4 sit to stands 4 times a day at, you know, 4 different times of the day, you can put plan care on there, so you can put the reminder, so these support workers would get a reminder flash up on their handheld device that needs to be, you know, and you'd have to, it would go white, and then if you didn't do it, it would go red, so you have to write into it and do it. So all those kind of things, you know, some of those things are really, really good related for things that need to be remembered, you know, and that could be, you know, moving in the chair, it could be around meal times or drinks, or it can be loads of different things. But actually I think they found that and actually when they go on to do what they're going to do next, having those opportunities to look at some of those things that are used. We used it when we did hospital discharge here in the second wave. We did 12 weeks of being a hospital discharge unit, and we used it all the time. We had OTs on site then, but we used it all the time to remember those different things, to look at, you know, so they could assess back over their paddles and see what support they needed in the morning, whether they could do their own teeth, whether they could do. So I think they found that I let them dip back into those times as well, so they could look at that.
Okay, great opportunity, great learning opportunity, as you say, and definitely help them in the future. Okay, so my last question, and I know the answer to this, would you have any more students in the future? And you are, because you've already agreed to have some.
Oh yeah, we've got 3 nursing associates, haven't we? 3 placements, 3 2-week placements in the next 3 months.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think, like I say, at the beginning, I'm not sure in those first couple of weeks if we'd have said yes. But yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, we still haven't planned anything. But I think by week 3, by week 4, I was really sad to see them go at the end. They were like,
is it over already?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you going?
So and the staff were like, oh God, we're really enjoying having them here. So I think yes, I'm talking for both of us, Sharon, but I think we've both had that conversation separately to this. Yes, we would, you know, we would have OTs, or I don't know if we'd have nursing and student associates yet, because we haven't had them, because that will be a very different, you know,
I did a trial with Petroc and NDD, no, the NHS.
Apprentices, weren't they?
The apprentices. So we had the apprentices at Silver Hill, and they did a mixture of the older people service and the learning did the building based services, and we had some really lovely students. I mean, they were with us for quite a substantial, like 12 months, 18 months. And I think the other one, I'm not sure she's still at hospital, because she had quite a period of sickness when she first went up there, so I'm not sure if she's still there. But they formed really good relationships with the staff and the clients, and they absolutely loved it, said they'd gained so much. But they did, I mean, the tutors at the time said, I don't think they'll want to come back to nursing, because obviously you've got 9 till 5, but they did, and they did go back to the nursing, which was a surprise. So
fantastic.
A lot of learning, and I just say, you know, that's how I got into the job, was from shadowing opportunities.
Okay.
I did the family and community care course, it was called at the time,
right.
And you did across a range of care, and and so ended up here really. So,
so
I always think if someone's willing to give that, that I had, I think it's a good thing to do, because you don't want somebody who gets the job and think, actually this isn't what I thought it was, and you put all that effort into inducting them and they're like, it's not for me.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely echo that. I think everybody needs a chance to know what it's really like. And actually, if people aren't going to buy into these giving people opportunities, we're not going to have people, are we? Because if they can't, we've got to be able to, and I don't think it hurts teams to have fresh eyes. I think, lots of people are like, oh, I don't really want students and I don't really want them here looking around. Well, if you've got something to hide, then you need to be looking at what you've got to hide, don't you? Actually, things go wrong and that's okay, because that's the real world, isn't it? So it's just about how
and historically our teams have been with us forever, haven't they? I mean, I've had my teams, like, I think I've got many original staff left now, but made quite a lot of changes since COVID, and a lot of them have gone, but needed to go, I say. But we've got some fresh blood in now, and it's fantastic. They're really bringing new things to the team, so it's great.
Yeah.
I think we would definitely do it again, as long as they want to come back. They might say, God bloody hell, they're really horrible there, we don't want to go, we don't want to go and see them.
To be fair, the feedback from students has been really positive, Della, hasn't it?
First of all, I think you were also positive about offering the opportunity, and it was a bit of the unknown, although I know, Nick, you had a little bit of experience. And it is always, whether it's an experienced educator, it's always different, and there are always slight tweaks to what you do, and I think that first 2 weeks is that tested time where you need to just get to know each other and for them to understand what you're doing. So with COVID and all your pressures, that kind of exacerbated that, but it's normal really. I mean, I think they just felt they'd had a great opportunity, and they got to the end, and one of them in particular said, I think I could do this. So it's really nice to have that. I mean, there are things along the way, obviously, because the long arm supervisor, Sue, it was new to her, so I guess it's going to evolve, isn't it, hopefully, this model, and we might have long arm supervisors, so Sue hopefully will offer her services again, but others who become a bit more experienced in some of the services, so they're the pathway should be a little bit smoother. But I think it was amazing what you did and what you offered, and they got so much out of it, and I think hopefully you did as well. So and Nick, you were on the telly, so what more can you ask for?
Over Christmas. Actually, it wasn't as traumatic as I first thought. When I saw it, I didn't see it. The team here sent me they videoed it on their television and sent it over, and it was quite short, and actually I was okay with that, and it gave social care a really positive outlook. So it gave the OT experience of them coming into and doing some learning with long arms. So, it gave that a really good, and it gave Harry was so pleased to be on there, who was the gentleman that was here, was so pleased to be, to do it. And it was a good thing. It gave it a good light.
Has created a tidal wave. So I'm just going to say I've got NHS England, NHS Improvement.
Oh, really?
Wanting to know all about it.
Oh, how brilliant.
I'm working in Somerset as well, and I've had people in Somerset who want to offer this type of placement.
Oh wow, that's really positive then, isn't it?
It is brilliant. It's definitely sparked, people are just thinking slightly differently about things, I think. So, and I know, Terry, you're planning to kind of carry on developing the model, which will be amazing.
Oh, brilliant. That's really positive.
And you've got new people coming in to support, haven't you?
We have. So the CPEP team is expanding. So we've got a physio, a dietitian, and a registered nurse coming onto our team. So we will be in a position to roll this model out once we've kind of evaluated it properly, roll this model out to other services. and they can they'll be in a position to be able to facilitate physio students, dietetic students, nursing students, etc., with support from CPEP. So as Della says, this isn't going anywhere. There's an awful lot of interest in what it is we are doing, and what you have been instrumental in kind of supporting the development of. So I'm sure you're going to be called upon to share your experiences, kind of far and wide. But the last thing I just wanted to say to you, the kind of themes that you've identified in terms of positive themes and also opportunities for us to learn have been, it's fair to say, have been echoed from students and Sue as well. So it's really interesting that there are common themes that all parties have said would definitely be beneficial in the future. So I just wanted to say that, really. So it's definitely something that we will use, and I'm sure Stacey will be knocking on your door, offering her training to your staff.
Brilliant, and we would love it because it looked so great, and we were so. Brilliant. But it just, poor Stacey, she tried to be so flexible, it just didn't work. So many times we tried, it was just So but
definitely. It is what it is, and we learn.
And we've got to the other end without it, but maybe we can do things a bit differently and learn a bit more if we have some more. So no,
absolutely. And as you say, it's you are both in a confident position, aren't you, in terms of being able to support and coach students. I think the whole idea is that your team, your colleagues who maybe aren't in that confident position, in acknowledging that they are the experts in the service that you're delivering, and students are coming in to tap into that expertise, and that's the whole point of the training, to kind of encourage that confident, positive thinking for staff. Brilliant, thank you. I will make my notes tidy and I'll share them with you, and do let me know if there's anything that I haven't represented fairly or accurately, and then we'll, like I say, we'll just combine them with the other themes that have come from Sue and the students.
Lovely.
Thank you for your time. Take care.
See you soon. Bye. Bye.